Hi,
Howdy ho,
mate.
everyone, and welcome once again to Learn to Trade US session. Well, a preview to that anyway. We're about 1 hour away from the US Open, and it's around about now that Ash and I get together and have a little chat about what we're going to do when the market opens for the US session. Hey, Ash, are you with me? Yes,
I
he
am
is.
with you, mate. Yeah, I'm with you. You sound like you're in the toilet.
That's because I've got my microphone and headset plugged in. Let me try that. Is that better?
Oh, yeah, it's a bit quiet, but it is better.
Oh, it's quiet. Is that better?
No, it's the same, mate. But that's okay. I can turn up my end, and I might be. It's quieter. Maybe that's what it is. More than quiet.
Am I off mic or on mic? Poor old Mike. Hello, hello, hello. Oh my goodness.
You've done what?
No, I'm okay. We're having a little bit of a sound check here, guys. You're supposed to do that before the show. They told me two. You know, I remember.
It's all right. I've turned you up.
Have you?
Yeah.
There you go. I hope everyone else has as well.
You're in good shape. Yeah, Lewis is in the room. He's saying he can hear. He can hear fine.
Fantastic. How you doing, mate? Anyway.
Doing really well, mate. Yeah, doing really well. I've been, in fact, so I like to do a bit of analysis in between the two shows. I've been sort of just thumbing through some COT data and some extra little bits and pieces. I'm going to introduce
Isn't it funny how different people approach trading in different ways? I actually go and have a nice feed and a couple of glasses of wine with my wife.
A couple of bottles of wine.
Well, no, I do save that for later.
I've just been trawling through. I mean, it's really for future stuff. Really, there's no point in looking at COT data for what's going to be applied today. But I like to just be ahead a little bit and see if there's anything interesting that I can just add to my analysis. I've stumbled over something which.
I thought there was something coming. Yeah. What did you find?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've stumbled over another indicator that we can use, which I will show the guys in the US show, and it's to do with the Nasdaq. The COT data is really interesting stuff, but with the COT data, it takes a lot of practice, and a lot of what I'm doing is practicing, really, just kind of making sure that I understand exactly what it is that it is telling me. And we can talk about that a bit in the US show. We can talk about it a bit here, but it's difficult. I will share my screen just to kind of get off the online trading profits thing here. There we go. Now COT data. If anybody's not aware, it's the commitment of traders, and it breaks it down. The commitment of traders breaks down into three areas: the commercials, which are effectively the producers, like the farmers and people like that are actually in the start of the supply chain, and then you get the asset managers, who are, I guess, the pension funds and people like that, a really important group, and then you get the leverage funds, which is effectively the hedge funds, and I think that group is is massively misunderstood, and probably not given the credence that they deserve. Actually, there's the non-reportables as well, which you get some reportables, which are the smaller retail traders. The non-reportables are like the smaller retail traders that don't really have much significance. They're usually wrong about things. So if you go to the commitment of traders, and you click.
That's a scathing attack on on the poor old chaps who just don't have to report it because they haven't got enough money in the market.
Oh no. When they report, but for some reason they're down as the non-reportables, but they do report. So if we look at natural gas, for example, and I'll just tell you how I'm using it as well.
Okay.
These are the non-reportables over here. Right at the last column there. So you got the producers here. So these group are a really important group to know what's going on, because the reason that people buy and sell with COTS with futures contracts is not necessarily the way that we would approach the market when we were trading, because as a bamboo farmer, you are a producer, so you would fall into this category here. Now, it might be that as the price of bamboo goes up, that you are net short. You know, you're not
Yep.
kind of buying any futures contracts. But as the price of bamboo comes down, then you might start buying up some futures contracts just to kind of secure the price of bamboo. That just to make sure you know what your overheads are. I know you're not in that that particular game of doing it that way, and I don't even know whether there's a futures contract on bamboo, but it would be something that you're going to tell me, right?
No, well, I'd love to know myself, actually. I asked that
Right.
question of Julian, a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and I think he said in his inimitable fashion, go and research it. As he does.
Yeah.
Do the work, you lazy sod, you know.
Yeah. I haven't got a clue, but if you go and do the work, let me know. Bamboo futures.
Hang on,
It
just
looks like
writing
there
that down
are.
here. That's about as much work as I've done today, right?
Yeah.
Research bamboo.
No, unfortunately, it says bamboo the future. Bamboo futures. There is a
Bamboo
company,
is the
people for
future.
bamboo
That's
futures.
probably what it says, yes.
More Bamboo Futures Limited. I don't know, V&A. I'm not sure what that is. But futures contracts is what you want to really put in. But it'd be quite good for you, mate, because if you had the opportunity to buy some futures contracts, no, it doesn't
Part
look
of the team,
like
yeah.
Yeah, well, it would just mean that you can secure your investment, all the time. But anyway, but back to the COT data. So I want to know this stuff anyway. I want to know, where are the producers positioning, and most importantly, along here, where are the managed monies and the swap dealers positioning? So if we can find that out, if we understand sort of like what's going on, really, when you see like big gaps between the two, is when markets start to become really interesting. And if you kind of look back and go over some old data points, then you can start looking at the charts and see how they relate to the charts. And it's really useful information. So this is what I've been doing, and really practicing with the COT data, and where I'm headed, which I don't know if I should say for the US show. Let's see how many people are in the room. There's not that many people in the room, and I see Lewis is here. So I will share it here. SF's in the room, and he said hello, and I don't think he's part of the US session, but just for a little treat for your loyalty, SF. I mean, not that this is going to change your trading outlook by any stretch, but it may be something of interest. The reason that I'm looking at this stuff right now is what I'm interested in is if natural gas, as the commodities mainly, if natural gas gives me a signal that it is going either long or short by reading the COT data, or what would be another one? Wouldn't be interested in that. No, you really do have to go down and have a look at the ones of interest to you. But what I'm looking at is ones that would be interesting for then going down to stocks and shares, because if the price of gold, for example, is very, very low, but we see the commercials buying up at that particular level, giving us a buy signal, then that would lead us to go, well, okay, well, who are the maybe the gold producers, or who are the other people in the gold supply chain? Because if they tell us, if we can understand who the people are in the gold supply chain, and we're getting a signal from the COT data, and overlay it onto seasonality, and overlay it onto the other indicators that we use, then we're just starting to narrow down an opinion, or I'm starting to narrow down an opinion about the way something could go. And then when I go to my charts, as long as I'm using exactly the same chart entries, all of a sudden, rather than just sort of like thinking, I've got a chart entry, I hope this goes all right, I'm kind of thinking, well, I've got this chart entry which matches my worldview. So I'm much more interested in doing work kind of behind the scenes before I get to the chart, and then seeing if the charts can match what I am analyzing. And a really good example of that would be the dollar index. the COT data on the dollar index does suggest that we are heading higher, and for a little while. And if we know that, then it means that let's bring in the DXY here. If we know that the dollar is potentially going higher, and the DXY is, can I bring this down? It's kind of in my way. Oh no, didn't want to do that. If we know the DXY is likely to go higher, all I'm waiting for now is the charts now to set up, because my world view on this stuff is for a long. Now there was another thing about the DXY. What was the other thing about this? Oh yeah, we can. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about some of the other bits in the US show, but yeah, I'm just trying to garner as much information from the data, mate. That's the bottom line. I'm trying to garner as much information from the data as I can. And from there, I think it's easier to make a decision on taking a long-term view. And then we bring in if we bring in the other things as well, then it'll let us know whether there is a long-term available trend there or not. Like, and knowing what I know about the DXY now, or knowing what I think I perceive on the DXY, regardless of whether this gives me a buy signal down here or not, is not the only thing that it tells me. What it also tells me, even though there might well be a buy signal on Bitcoin, but what it also tells me is that I'm not as interested in Bitcoin at this level as I maybe would be, because there is COT data for Bitcoin, surprisingly enough. And actually the COT data on Bitcoin is starting to look quite positive, but I wouldn't want to look for buy signals in this while the dollar is potentially strengthening as well. So if I see that the the dollar index is going in one direction, then I can start then looking at, other charts that I would be trading it against, and it would suggest gold would probably fall a little bit further. So even though I'm looking for a buying opportunity here, it would suggest that any kind of chart signal at this stage would probably be a false one. So it's kind of ironing out, some of the potentially some of the trades that wouldn't work out.
Yeah, look, if nothing else, it gives you clarity and confidence, because
Yes.
you've got those backups. It's not just, as you say, you're not playing pin the tail on the donkey. It's not a matter of, oh, gee, that looks okay, and I've seen that work before. Yeah, I'll trade that. Why not? When really, there's a whole mountain of stuff that potentially is in your way that you actually don't know about unless you have a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And do you know what? The thing about this stuff is that you are ultimately starting to really get under the hood of what's going on in the market behind the scenes as well. And it just means that the charts only express what is really going on with sentiment. So I find it really useful stuff. But as I say, I'm kind of going through the process right now. It's new stuff to me. I've switched away. Of course, we were looking at Markets Made Clear. We were looking at an actual website which provided the COT data before, but I have probably advanced from there now, where I can read the COT data myself, and make judgment calls on just actually opening up the website. And actually, it's a bit deeper. The information that I can garner now is a bit deeper, because I don't think I fully I don't think there were certain things that I really wanted to know looking at the website, but now I can be a lot more specific.
Okay, say, right, so tell me this. I've got a chart pattern there on your screen that's telling me we've got a descending triangle.
Yep.
How does that marry up with the what's that? CFD's on gold, right? Whoops. So that's a gold futures chart. Is that what I'm looking at?
I think so, mate. Yeah.
So what's the your take on the COT data telling me about that?
So from the dollar, I haven't got to gold actually yet. I've been through quite a few of them, but I haven't got to gold. But from what I'm reading from the dollar, what it's suggesting to me at this stage is that gold is going down here. That's what the COT data is suggesting. It's suggesting a significantly higher dollar than where we are. And if that's
Okay,
to
so that,
happen,
that
then
coincides with the general consensus of opinion that a descending triangle will break to the low side.
oh, quite pot. Yep, yep, yep,
So there's another layer.
yep. Yep, and this is the thing. You see, this is the thing about the technicals. You know, when the technicals come into play, how are we gonna trade a descending triangle? Well, I suppose you could take it from the top line, or you could wait for a break. And if the COT data still suggests some further strength in the dollar, then we can take the retest and trade it lower. Or we can say, well, what I really want is to buy gold, and I'm not prepared to take the risk of choppy price action because I think that gold actually is a really strong play. So what it might be saying is that it could be times just to keep our hands in our pockets with gold just for a little bit longer, regardless of chart patterns, and then we wait until the data turns around, and when the data turns around, then we look for chart patterns, and then we trade it to the upside from there. But it is suggesting that there is likely to be some further strength in the dollar. And I suppose with this, because I quite like the way that gold is, I don't think I'd really want to trade that. But I wouldn't mind trading the euro, you know, or the I mean, look at the euro. The euro is creating a buy signal here in some respects. You know, it's we'd have to get into some further detail. But what we always want is a break and a retest, and that looks to me like a break and a retest is just about starting to happen. So I'd want to break this down. But if I did get a sell signal on the euro because of what the COT data is suggesting, this would be probably quite a strong signal now. Have you fallen off your chair?
Sorry, mate. I had to. Sorry, I had to just duck away for 2 secs. Also giving me my nice little three little Indians sitting there, the euro.
Yeah,
So there's another layer for you.
yeah. Yeah, there you go. I mean, you know, this is where we start to look at the technicals and say, actually, these technicals are probably more powerful than before. Now, when we look at the dollar, the other thing about the dollar is that and marrying it in with the COT data, this is a sell zone. But because of what it's suggesting, it doesn't say, you know, at this particular stage, it's not suggesting to me that I should be a seller. What I should be looking for is the move down so I can get a pop to the upside. And I'm willing to take that pop now on this because of what the data is suggesting. Now, at this stage, I haven't overlaid seasonality on the dollar, which I would like to do. So I'm still in the process, but it is a long arduous is the wrong word, but it's a long process, you know, to kind of come up with a view on what is genuinely available to trade. And I just want to use as much information as I possibly can get my hands on. During the US session, we'll talk about the Nasdaq and why I am fairly confident that the Nasdaq still got higher to go. And if there's a trade today, I will be taking it.
Is that well? I've got to say no, it isn't. I've answered my own question. Really, is that consistent though with your mindset? Let's say your mindset, which is kind of my mindset. Mindset's telling me that we've still got a long way to go to get over this virus, right?
Yeah.
And pardon me. And we haven't seen the worst of it yet, perhaps.
Yeah.
Does that, in the Nasdaq's case, I suppose, we've got to consider other things like, because of the need for technology.
Sorry, mate. I might have to just cut you off
Even
1 second. I
greater
forgot to put the
need
key
for
under the door.
technology, with staying at home, those sorts of things, being
I'll be
working
back.
from home, etc., etc., etc. Does the COVID virus in many ways work with the Nasdaq rather than against it? Is that the thought process that you use, or not really? one of us is gone. I'm not sure who that is. Either Ash can't hear me, or he's muted or something. Ash is gone. Okay, I see. I wanted him to answer that question, actually, because it's an interesting one. And of course, I don't trade indices, so it's probably not going to make that much difference to me, but I think it's important. All right.
Sorry, mate. I'm back.
Let
Can you hear
me
me?
take the screen and see how
Geoff can't
we
hear me.
can look forward. Pardon me. What screen have I got? That one. There's a bit of a change going on, I've got to say. Okay, you can hear Ash, I can't. Right, this has happened before, and I can't remember what happened and why. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make you the host, Ash.
Okay.
And I'm going to check out and come back in, because no, I cannot hear you at all. So there must be an issue my end. Let me do that. All right, Ash, you are now the host, and I should be able to get out and come back in without any problems.
All right.
All right, I will be back very shortly.
There we go. Okay. Right. Yeah. So we will talk about the.
There you go. That was quick, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, very quick, mate.
I just unplugged the microphone and plugged it back in again, and it worked.
Oh, the old off and on technique.
That was the one.
Yeah, very Homer Simpson.
So what was the answer to my question that you heard?
Yeah, I mean, to a point, mate. I have to say, in the longer term, I'm pretty bearish on stocks generally, but it's just in the short term. So the longer term really will kind of that COVID will start to come in and be a really important aspect. I think there's probably some other issues that might take precedent before it. The U.S. election, for example, and the continued and rising tensions between the United States and China. But when it comes down to, do I think in the longer term people will have to continue to use tech? Yes, I do, and I think it will create a really good buying opportunity for the Nasdaq, but and for tech stocks. But at this particular stage, if we're just talking about what might happen for a day at least, I think today there could be a continued move to the upside with the Nasdaq. So I do see it popping down, and I'd quite like it a little bit lower. But I'm going to be taking a buy in the Nasdaq later today if we get it. And that's not only down to do with the COP data. I'm going to show everybody something when we start the US show. That has led me to my analysis, led me to my current conclusion that we should be buying the Nasdaq today.
Okay, I don't think everything is anywhere near as clear as you are seeing on my side of things. I think the currency story is very, very clear at the moment, and certainly I am of two minds on quite a few scenarios. A couple of things that I'm not in doubt about, I shall share with most of you now. Are we sharing my screen?
Yep.
I think we are. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Hang on 2 secs. I'm in somewhat disarray here. All right, that's the euro, right? Got it. So euro dollar, I'm still very bearish on, and very much like the screen that we saw before of yours. We do have these three little Indians sitting here, and that tells me that this is very, very highly likely to break this range to the low side. The question mark is how far and when, of course. That's an age-old question, isn't it? We kind of didn't make it, but of course this is a cloud of a price. We didn't really make it to the top of our trend line here, which of course is a monthly trend line, and most significant, it also has a little bit of this going on, where it has been resistance through here, support through here. So I actually do like this level, and we've spoken about this level, I think, for the last couple of weeks, frankly, and we have to some degree now bounced off it somewhat. So those three little Indians that I see are still telling me and in combination with this confluence area, that we are going to have a little trip to the short side. Where that may be, anybody's guess really at the end of the day, but there are a couple of levels that I'm looking at. One is this one, and certainly that white line you see in your chart, 114.50. And the other one is just about there, halfway to that distance, which is 116.20 or thereabouts. So I'm pretty keen to get short the euro versus the dollar. And I guess that goes to what you were talking about with the potential dollar strength that I guess we've all been waiting for the longest time. When I say strength, let me rephrase. I mean retracement. I don't mean reversal, because I don't think the dollar's got. I don't think the dollar's got much going for it, to be honest. Yeah. Anyway, all of that said, we have hit the bottom of this range now on euro US dollar and have bounced. Interestingly, what is the dollar doing today? Yeah, it's coming off just a little bit on the dollar index, and we'll have a good look at that on in the show that's upcoming in 4 minutes time, of course. But I'm really looking for something to get me short the euro, which is interesting because normally I would be looking to play this long, given that we've bounced off the bottom of a range, and I won't dismiss that. I've got to be frank. I'll be looking for this signal to give me either or, because I can totally see us going back to here before we break short. There's no rule that says we have to break short now. So I'm still of the opinion that maybe even a little pull back to the daily pivot, a retest of the daily pivot thus far, can take us back to these pivots, put in the lower high, and then we can trade it short, because always it's best to trade short from resistance for me than it is from support. So that's exactly what I'll be looking at. Dollar yen was the other one. I don't know how that's tracking over.
So fans just letting us know there's some breaking news.
ECB forecast said to show more confidence in economic outlook. Who said that? Bloomberg. Okay.
Yeah, which I'll check out in a bit.
And that's why we're seeing the euro rally, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got that. There was a question there earlier about something that was tradable. Can't remember what that was. Euro pound 1 hour short. Well, I'm on board with the short part of it, but whether there's a setup. Oh my goodness. I think the answer has to be no at the moment, but let's take a look at it. That is indeed the hourly chart. Here's why I think the short is possible, and it's because we are at a resistance level, both horizontally and from a trade line point of view. So I'm looking for that, but I don't see it right now. I'm looking for price to come back underneath that trade line after we've had a little bit of consolidation. That's the daily chart, of course. So this line here, not really pertinent on an hourly chart, but it's the daily one I'm looking for it to come back underneath. As far as now is concerned, I've got a little bit of a support trade line, and that's about it, really. I haven't got any resistance trade line that I can play a false break off. So it probably becomes, as you were saying before, Ash, maybe a break and retest of that level. And then we can look to play this back to the daily pivot. But at the moment, no, that's a little bit too tough. And really, the pound is so weak over the last 24 or 48, maybe even 72 hours. It's really, really difficult to see that changing anytime soon. Of course, there has to be a retracement, and maybe we're seeing that at this point in time. We shall see. Anyway, it's time we went into, hang on, a couple of new messages here. Yep, you got it, sweet, untested daily pivot. So we'll be looking to play that if we can. And Simon is praising Shukri for his show earlier today. And I was wishing I could be in there, but unfortunately it's dinner time for me. I'll look at the replay. Guys, we've got to go. Those of you who were in the YouTube streaming show or on Facebook, thank you very much for your company. We'll be doing it again tomorrow when we will preview what's coming up for the US session. And those of you who are subscribers, of course, hang about. We'll be back in a couple of ticks. Those on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, of course. Catch you later. Ash, you'll have to do that for me, mate.